and that Allah takes people to be martyrs. And of course, it pains us. It pains us with words we can't find to say how much it pains us to see Muslims being killed, tens of thousands of Muslims being killed. And every single Muslim life, some of the ahadith is worth more to Allah than the Kaaba. But wallahi, if someone is martyred and they die for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, that person, wallahi, they achieved something that is from the greatest achievements of this life. So don't feel sad for them. We feel sad for those who remain, for the families, for those who are suffering. We don't feel sad for someone who died for the sake of Allah. Here is a very important point. Not everybody who dies as a Muslim in a conflict will die for the sake of Allah. Now this is even a message to people who are suffering. And if ever a Muslim goes through this suffering, make sure that if you're going to lose your life, you lose it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a believer. Allah, it pains me to say, sometimes I come across people who have suffered immensely in Islam, and as a Muslim, in a Muslim country, they suffered so much. And yet, the way they approach that suffering is not what Islam asked them to do. Even today, there are people screaming out in the streets. You say to them, Khwani, 1 second. What do you want for Philistine? Do you want an Islamic country where Allah is obeyed, where Islam is dominant? They're like, of course not. We just want those people to give us our land back. Wani, I'm sorry if that's hard to hear. Like, that's the waqi' for many people, many organizations and many people. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying many people. Wallahi, go and ask them, do you want Islam to be dominant? They're like, no, of course not. We want our land back. We want to drive out the oppressor. That's very, very sad, Ikhwan. The easy thing to fall into, right? You make sure that if you're going to go through a calamity and you're going to suffer for something, you make sure it's for Allah Azza wa Jal. And alhamdulillah, there are many people like that in Palestine and outside who are sincere for Allah Azza wa Jal, and when they suffer, they do so expecting the reward from Allah Azza wa Jal and hoping for it. They want to see a country where Islam is dominant, where Allah is obeyed, not just to see a certain flag or a certain people or a certain ethnicity. We want for ourselves and for our brothers and sisters that if we go through a hardship and a calamity, go into it in Islam and we come out of it in Islam, even if it means that we have to leave this world. And those people who do that, wallahi, they got a reward that cannot be described in words.